All right, Paul, do you have your book with you?
Yes.
All right. So the other day I was reading in the back of the book on the last chapter. So they say this to the employers. It's on page 145.
Yep.
And this really caught my attention. It's the it's the third paragraph.
Yep.
All right. The greatest enemies of us alcoholics are resentment, jealousy, envy, frustration, and fear. Wherever men are gathered together in business, there will be rivalries, and arising out of these, a certain amount of office politics. Sometimes we alcoholics have an idea that people are trying to pull us down. Often this is not so at all, but sometimes our drinking will be used politically. That first line there, Paul, the greatest enemies of alcoholics are resentment, jealousy, envy, frustration, and fear. I've heard, and I don't know, but I heard that Bill chose his words wisely. And if he did, then he used that word enemy as for a reason. And I heard other people talk about this paragraph, and they framed this chapter as not just necessarily as a chapter to the employers, but as a chapter to, let's say, a sponsor, or how to sponsor somebody. So if you can talk about whatever, I'll just open it up. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you. See, I never read that chapter because it said to the employers, and I was never an employer. So, hey, I follow instructions. Because this is to the employer, so I passed on it. Literally. I like to stay employed by the new employer. Yeah. I'm an employee. Yeah. Yeah. So the greatest enemies of us alcoholics, well, they would be manifestations of self in one's life. Yes. So, and the enemy is not us. That's the beautiful news. Yeah. Because obviously a lot of people feel, from a twisted way of seeing things, that they are their own worst enemy. Yeah. They are worse than jealousy, resentment, all these other things. Yeah. So frustration and fear. The fear thing is, the fear is a valid emotion, but in its operating mechanism, there usually has to be an apparent threat to trigger the fear. Yeah. Now, something has learned to trigger the fear without an apparent threat. And to me, that problem resides in the mind. And so most of what we call fear is triggered by mental anxiety. Yes. Because how could you be afraid of something truly if it wasn't appearing? Yeah. It must be appearing somewhere, which is in the head. Yeah. So I really like to push the idea of mental anxiety a lot more. Today, at least till 11:30, I don't think I'm going to have an apparent threat come into the room while I'm sitting on the Zoom. And so basically, without the trigger, there won't be any fear. But if what we call fear is triggered by mental anxiety, that can be happening at all times. Yeah. And really, the great producer of fear is faith in the wrong thing. Yeah. Faith in the thoughts where the problem resides, and the interpretations of perceptions, which is it's a perceptual problem. All these things, the faith in that is what defeats us, literally. Yeah. Yeah. That's our role in things. That's why when they say, maybe you could stop entertaining, stop harboring, stop, yes, stop, it's like we're giving stuff shelter and refuge that maybe we don't want to. Yeah. And I think in some respects, our reaction from powerlessness was just to deny it and not acknowledge any of it. So we're being moved by a lot of things with the fear of finding out about those things. Yes. The underlying thing. Because as you and me, Michael, on some level, we think we did all this shit. Yeah. There's a feeling that you did it all and you've had enough. You don't want to see any more information about how fucked you are. Yeah. You want to sort of let's forget about it. Let's watch Die Hard 11 or something, you know. It's just yeah. But if you can start from this position that what you're looking at and what you're looking into is not of you, yeah, it's not you, I think then you can have a fearless, thorough inventory of it. I do not believe you're going to do a fearless, thorough inventory of you. There's just too many things that are hidden, yeah. And the, the hiding of it on the head's level is survival. Yeah. Because it presents that it's going to kill you if you find out how fucking bad you are or unlovable. Yes. So there's a huge threat. So basically, we're harboring it and it's telling us it's giving us shelter, but we're harboring this shit like frustration and jealousy and mental anxiety. Yeah. So and we're believing it's doing something other than it's actually doing. Yeah. Yeah. So this the greatest enemies of us alcoholics are resentment, jealousy, envy, frustration, and fear. And then he's talking about business because it's weird, isn't it? What is it? It's only in love and no, business has its own morals, right? You can do anything if it's business. And basically in America, the manifest code of corporations is to make shareholders money. So whatever they can do to do that is deemed to be okay in that view. Can you imagine if people just make this shit up and then, you know, okay, I'm doing something business, it's okay. If I, yeah, it's amazing. It really is. It's Oh, wow, it's just something else. I would just like to just stay on point in a way, just see because how everything is influenced by the beginning of everything. And like it or not, this is a subjective experience. Yeah. So if you wrote down everything that you met and did and saw and felt, and everyone else wrote down what they saw, felt, meant, and did, or where they went to and stuff, it wouldn't capture any of the experience because it's not an objective experience. It's a subjective one. Yeah. Somebody gets hurt, it triggers them to stop drinking. Someone gets hurt, it triggers them to start drinking. Yeah. This is a subjective event. And if the subjective event has been captured by a false identification with this idea of self, then we get an interpretation, not even of our own making. It's made up. Yeah. So an alcoholic sees the way alcoholics see, feels the way alcoholics feels, and does the same shit alcoholics do. Yes. Where is the uniqueness in it? There isn't any. Yeah. We're standardized versions of washed up alcoholics. Literally. So this is the beauty. I mean, AA is so incredible because by not trying to change the situation in a way, but to tell the truth about the situation and bring a solution into it, which is a spiritual solution. Yeah. Not a mental and physical one. There may be some of those, but the basis is a spiritual solution. So we're going to see anew, like St. Francis says, in self-forgetting, we're reborn. This is what AA is. We learn through a way of life to forget self. Yeah. And in the forgetting of self, it opens the door for all these other possibilities. Yeah. That aren't open. They're locked, not because the door is locked, but because of self is trying to go through the door. Yes. It can't fucking fit. So we live a life to lose interest in this ideation of self, and then tons of amazing shit starts to happen. Literally. I know people their whole life, internally and externally, is AA. Completely. The one they married, everything. Everything. Yes? Can you imagine that? What what a great employer taking care of us. I've seen, seriously, it's the norm. It's not this. It's not a strange phenomena. It's the norm that when people get sober, their whole life is based on the sobriety, who they met, what they do, everything. That is a solution. Yeah, that's incredible. So somebody I haven't seen in a long time came to the talk last night. Long, long time. And he was telling me about his idea of why I seem to have bothered a lot of people in AA. And he said, you know what? It's the word self, bro. You could have continued to be a circuit speaker if you just kept your mouth shut. Gone along with the plan. The problem doesn't want an exact diagnosis of the problem. It doesn't. by by the problem's reaction, I think I'm onto something, literally. Yeah, because I don't care about anyone else. I'm not upset when they talk about whatever they talk about, literally. It seems to be when I say anything, there's like a little undercurrent or an uproar when I leave. That's why we found shelter in the Zooms, literally. Seriously. Serious. It's funny, but it's seriously. So that's the point I like to stay on. Yeah. I'm gonna sink or swim with it my rest of my life, probably. Because it has such a profound impact where I'm sitting. And I've seen its impact on others. Yeah. If someone else can pick up the mantle and do it, and who's more likable and everything else, fantastic. I hope so. Seriously, this isn't like a, a baton I'm keeping close to my jealous heart. Or, yeah, I hope some people pick it up and run with it, write more books and shit. Yeah, so that you'll fall into it. See, if you dig enough holes, it's going to make it a better chance of someone falling into it. Yeah. So someone told me we have thousands of YouTube sessions, thousands upon thousands, far out. Yeah. So yeah. So I think the exact nature of wrong is foreign to us. I believe the condition of this bondage is the act of being identified as self. Yep. Now, it is not self that's in the act of being identified as self. We seem to be complicit in the act of being identified as self because we hear it. Yeah. It's just a presentation, the act of being identified as self. It doesn't make it so. It can seem to be so if we're unbeknownst to us, we're following it. Yeah. And most people are not hearing the head, they're listening to the head. Yeah. So they are being directed by this self-centered point of view, and therefore they're getting the effects of that self-seeking point of view, and therefore they take themselves to be that idea. Yeah. And then they have a feeling maybe they're their own worst enemy, or they hate themselves, and it can go to such an extreme. Yeah. That they're walking around talking out loud and having a conversation. One aspect of the head's talking, and then your other reaction is talking out loud. And yeah. And many of us are just about an inch away from that. Now it's just a murmur. It's going to be loud later. I'm not going to do what you say I should do. What? Who the hell is? What's that going on? There's a conversation between two imaginary people. I'm not going to do it. Okay, okay. So, yeah. Look at the. Can I read something on page 64? Simple. I think it's 64. I should remember this. This is an act. This isn't apple, pear, orange. It's capturing a flow. Yes. So he says here, he talks about looking at it as a business inventory, which once again is trying to extract the personalness out of it. So let's look at it as a business inventory, the fourth step. And then he goes, we did exactly the same thing with our lives. We took stock honestly. First, we searched out the flaws in our makeup, which caused our failure. Yes? And while doing that, being convinced that self, manifested in various ways, was what had defeated us. We considered its common manifestations. Yeah? So you put pen to paper, and as you're doing that, you're being convinced that self, manifested in various ways, is what has defeated us. That's the point. Yeah? If you want to highlight everything in the book, highlight self with one color and then highlight us with another color. They're not the same freaking thing. Yeah. Self, is not us. Self is like a singular program that's infecting tons of different people. Yeah. But it's still that program, no matter how many people it's in, is its own program called self. Yes. Let's say. Yeah. It doesn't become Paul. Paul sees it as it. Yeah. Paul becomes the self, so to speak. Yeah. And then a lot of us, it drives us into a condition of irritable restlessness and discontent that we want relief, and that relief targets us to go get what it really wants, which is alcohol or drugs to fuel its dramatic, flamboyant fucking life. Yeah. And then when all the crimes are committed, we end up in jail and it's still running around. I really believe if you wanted to make it symbolic, rent a parking lot and meet there as all of us, and let's talk about what's happening as the car that was driven instead of the fucking driver of the car. Because we really should be in that parking lot. Yeah. And then in that parking lot, the cars can talk about the driver finally. It would change your whole view. It would. Yeah. I saw it. 6, 7 years, I was practicing pretty as best I could recovery. Yeah. I did it, then it was doing me and everything else. That whole process was going on. And then one night I read this page and I saw self as foreign to me. Yeah. Yeah. Distinctly foreign to me. And immediately, right at that point, the possibility I can be free from it came in my head right then. Yeah. So the trigger was seeing self as foreign. What did it afford me? The possibility of being free from it. And then the head or my life, something scanned a lot of my life and showed me in a blitz of a second, self can't get out of self, because that's what I was representing most of my adult life. I, as self, was trying to get out of self. Yeah. It was beautiful. It was probably the greatest lesson, and it took like 25 seconds. Yeah. Yet it has stayed with me ever since. Now, 30 years about. Yeah. Stayed with me, never moved, never left. Yeah. And I've listened to a lot of people trying to describe the exact nature of the wrong, and I do not believe what I heard. Yeah. This, I feel humbly, is an apt description of what has defeated us. Yeah. First, get clear it's not of you. You're not the doer of it. You're not this. You're not the origin of it. You play the role of the host to a parasitical movement. Yeah. The parasitical movement, knowing the hostility of its own nature, has a great strategy to neutralize the host. It convinces the host that it's the parasite. Yeah. So you want to get out of self, but the only way you can entertain getting out of self is as self. And people in our community did that enough to recognize self can't get out of self. Hallelujah. Yeah. This would be the most beautiful package of knowledge, which is self is what has defeated us, and self can't get out of self. If you could have that understanding, those 2 points, it would change your attitude and outlook, literally. Yes? Self is not me, yet self cannot get out of itself. And then watch how many times you try to get out of yourself. And when it fails, you're never brought to the enlightening knowledge. You just change the vehicles you're trying to get out of self as. Yes? Buddhism, recovery, drugs, sex, workaholism, whatever. Yeah. And it keep running into the wall, destroys the vehicle, just sort of backs up and gets in another one. It's not going to get it. Yeah. You have to get it. You have to learn about self. Self can only learn so much about self. Yes. And then its self knowledge avails us nothing. Yeah. You and I have to learn about it. Yeah. And how are you going to learn about it as it? You have to get a sense it's not you so you can study it. Yeah. Because if it's presented as you, it's going to stop a lot of the studying because you don't want to know. Yeah. You really don't. You have a strong suspicion that you're a fraud and you don't want to confront it. You don't want to confront that you're incapable of having a viable relationship. You rather avoid that, yes? But if you see what's the cause of these conditions, you can have a fearless and thorough inventory. And then the effect will be you will not regret the past nor shut the door on it because you will be very clear, very, very clear that you did not choose to do the shit you were driven to do while under the influence. It will be fucking crystal clear that you were driven completely. You will know because you know it felt like that. You know it, you have all these suspicions, but you still think you're the driver. But you were driven completely. Yeah. Isn't that great? You can't live with the driven driver dynamic. You're the driven that sometimes in the driver, driven, driver, driver, driven. It doesn't work. What camp are you on? Are you the driven? I would say yes. Are you the driver? I would say no. Yeah. Get clear about it. It's like the thing. It's God is either everything or nothing. You're either the driver or the driven. Which is it? If you're the driver, it rationalizes all you're wanting to control and manage, obviously. Yes. And when you fail miserably, it will avoid that recognition because it will just keep trying to manage. But what would happen if you see you're not managerial quality? You fall under the condition of being the driven. Fantastic. Because now you can have a new driver, the higher power. You can have if you're the employer, the only way you could see of having a new employer is dying. Yes. If you're the old employer, a new employer would be a fucking threat. Yes. If you were the new old employer, as bad as it's been, and you heard there's a new employer, you wouldn't want that, would you? No. But we are what has been employed. And in this condition, there was an old employer that has treated us quite badly, and there's a new employer. Being all powerful, it's going to take care of us. Yes? I was the driven today. I was the driver tonight. Driven, driver, driver, driven. No, you're one or the other. And it's obvious you're not the driver. Do you blame the car for the accident? Usually you would blame the driver, yes? Yet if you go to the prison, it's a giant car lot. All the cars that were driven are in the prison. The driver is still out there driving. I know I'm painting it broadly, but it's that insane. Yeah. So uh, you can't lose interest in self as self. That's interest in self. You cannot lose interest in self as self. That's interest in self. It does not say, all right, self is going to forget a lot of shit. It's, as St. Francis, it's in self forgetting. You forget self. Yeah. You forget self, not self forgetting tons of shit. You forget self. You lose interest in it. And then all these new possibilities show up. Yeah. But you're going to be employed your whole life. You're going to be used your whole life. Doesn't it feel great when you're used to be of help to people in AA? That's the nature of a tool. When it's being used correctly, the tool feels better. You feel better, don't you? I just did something this morning. It made the action figure feel better. I called up the insurance for the car and I downloaded the picture to return in Amazon thing. I was very proud of myself. Felt better for a few minutes. I'm not that, but yes. Because the tool is happy when it's, oh, you want to point out when the tool did something. Oh, look at what the tool did. Great. Yes. Makes it feel happier to be a tool and be used. Yes. What would happen to you when you did service? You felt better because that was seemingly more your purpose than the other shit you were doing. Yeah. Every tool has a purpose. And when you're fulfilling that purpose, you feel better. Yes. Now, certain tools can be used either way, and we're in that category. We can be a tool that seems to manufacture misery, or we can be a tool that manufactures compassion and service. Just like it says in the book, we uh, we we manufacture our own misery. I do not believe that. I believe we're a factory that can manufacture a lot of products. And what product line we're going to put out isn't based on the machinery of the factory, but on the who's running the factory. Yes? So when you were being run by let's say self, you were producing a lot of misery in yourself, and you can't even imagine the misery in others. That would be somewhat unbearable. But you were producing misery. Yes? Now, the head would have you to have you believe you were the producer of that misery so that you could carry guilt around that for 40, 50 years. Yeah? You were not the producer of that misery. You were the producing of the misery. The producer of it was self. Yes? If you can get it clear, it's going to allow a lot of really, when they say something's blocking us off from the sunlight of the spirit, and people believe the sunlight of the spirit here is here, and we're here. No, we're the sunlight of the spirit being blocked off. Yeah. The sunlight of the spirit is coming from us. It's not coming to us, it's coming from us. The block is here. Yeah. Not here. Here's the sunlight and us. No, it's here. Yeah. You are the blocking of the sunlight of the spirit, looking for the sunlight of the spirit outside of yourself. That's a denial of what we are. We are spirit. We are the sunlight of the spirit. Yeah? It's just like this. If you don't mind, if we have someone up question, fine, but just going to go off on this thing. Another way of explaining it. You will go out, let's say you got an old body, it's cold, so it's nice to be in the sun, and then you also think you're going to get vitamin D. So you go out there and you have all the intentions of the world of getting some sunlight, but a cloud comes by and it's moving very slowly, and it seems like it parks right in front of you and the sun. Yeah. So now you were ready to get it. Your intention was to receive it, the sunlight of the Spirit, but now there's this cloud. Yeah. And now the cloud has been given the ability to block you off from the sunlight of the Spirit. Yes? What would happen if you realize you're not the one who's sitting there to try to get the sun, that you're actually on the sun side? Does that cloud now have the ability to block you off from the sun? No. Though the cloud is still there, it doesn't have the ability to block you from the sun because you are on the sun side. This is the situation, yeah? You are the light that you're looking for, literally. Yeah? Yeah. If not, I mean, yeah. It's like when I came in AA, they said the idea, which was a beautiful idea because a lot of people have a lot of opinions about God and organized religions. So they said, listen, you can make a God of your own understanding just to get you in the door, literally. Yeah. But what happens quickly when you're in AA? To me, the transition was so fast that I realized I don't want to have a God of my own understanding. It's going to be a very small God. I much rather have a God of its own understanding. Yeah. That switched and I've never changed for 37 years. Yeah. Never. Just stabilized just like that. And the sense of a higher power to me is it's always available at all times, right where I am, with no requirement necessary to meet it. Woo! Pretty good. Yeah. All the evil machinations can't do shit. If you're on one side, they can seem to do everything. If you're on the side of the Spirit, they're not doing shit. Yeah. Your light has never been dimmed or never goes out. Uh, it's like that song, Procol Harum, Shine On Brightly. Very nice. That's basically it. You're shining on dimly or brightly, based on the older employer or the new employer. Literally, yeah. Under the new employer, you're shining on brightly. Under the old employer, you're shining on dimly. So, all right. Anyone else, Michael? Thank you for this. I could probably needed this.
No,
Yeah.
thank you, Paul. No, I like this part right here. Says that sometimes we alcoholics have an idea that people are trying to pull us down, and it
Yeah.
reminded me.
All day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Especially when I was, using drugs. There's this little thing called paranoia that, like, seemed to like attract to me.
Bro, truly, we're also like a petri dish. Yeah. Yeah. If our underlying condition is acidic, it's going to attract acidic stuff. Yes, it is. If it's, which I believe the program does, it turns it into an alkaline base, which is not conducive for frustration and jealousy and anger. It doesn't grow well there. So yeah, and other shit starts growing. So in the process of that change, you outgrow a lot of stuff. Yes. And then you grow into other stuff. So you outgrow the manufacturing of misery and you grow into the manufacturing of compassion and empathy. Yeah. Yeah. All directed by the new employer or the old employer, literally. Yeah. And you'll know the tree by its fruits. Don't listen to that which is producing tons of misery and incomprehensible demoralization and pitiful fear. Don't believe it's, oh, I'm come to Jesus moment. Just fucking look at the truth. You can judge the tree by the fruit. Yeah. Could you get yourself sober? Probably not. Are you sober now? Yes. What did it? Something greater than you. Hallelujah. Yeah. If you realize that something did for you what you couldn't do for yourself, why not expand what you can't do for yourself? And more shit will be done. I have not become an expert of how to live a day at a time. I am in the same condition I was when I came in. It's just been admitted. Yeah. And there's been the surrender led to being surrendered. Yes. So I am in the habit of being surrendered. I'm used to it. It's familiar. Yeah. More familiar than anything else. Yeah. Yeah. All right.
Great. Marl has her hand up. I hope I said that right. I
Thanks.
probably not.
No, it's fine. It's Meryl, and thank you.
Meryl. Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to say, I am so glad for this today. This is what I needed today, and it is around where I seem to be these days. And I just really appreciate it. And I know I was saying something yesterday. I have a lot of work to do. I mean, I am relatively new in program, or in being enough in program that I'm actually doing work. So I have work to do. And yet this message, this context, and this view, I don't know, what do you want to call it, this reality to me is also part of that. And I while I would never say I'm going to be one speaking out in program, my program is a food program, but I will say I don't identify only with food. I just identify as someone who wants to use and get out, in general. And even that I find in certain areas of my program isn't really tolerated. And so there's a lot of, I think, maybe dogma that I'm having trouble with. And I have less trouble when I come here, and less trouble after today. And I'm so grateful, because I just need to find a way
Yes.
to translate everything, and because I know I have work to do. I'm not leaving, but I also have a lot of trouble staying. So I've just been in this place. And I just really appreciate you and this, and I feel very hopeful. And yeah, and I'm like I said, I'm so new that I'm not in any way going to be doing the speaking that you talk about. But even now, I'm just afraid to even say my truth, because I get negativity back. I don't like it. I don't like, so I just have to, I feel so picking and choosing my words. And I was even listening to some podcast that was talking about people masking in public, in jobs and in their life, and how if people are not showing all of themselves, they've done some surveys now, some studies that show 65% of people in jobs feel that they're masking to some degree, and that by virtue of that masking, they don't feel even part of the situation they're in. So they don't follow all the rules, and they just don't feel like they're a member because they're not showing themselves. And I think that's some of what I've been dealing with. And anyway, so this just really gives me a way to be where I am, which would be great. So thank you so much, Paul.
Yeah. Part of the perhaps there's a better way, it goes against the premise of should I stay or should I go as being the two options. Yeah. Yeah. So like in AA, I saw a lot of people I was running into around 10 or 12 years. They didn't feel like they felt they needed more, and they didn't see it in AA. So then they would start looking at other stuff. And sometimes with the head's idea of it's either this or that, they would leave AA and try to get more into that other thing, which there's more options than that. You can stay in AA and bring the stuff you're getting from the other thing into AA, instead of believing you have to leave AA to get the other stuff. You can get the other stuff and bring it back. Yes. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
just
thank you.
it's-
And I don't, I'm not at all refuting what you're saying, but it's not like I had anywhere else to go. I mean, there's,
I'm speaking more principle now. Yeah, the principle thing of black and white, and
yeah,
everyone has this our thinking is very binary, yes. And if you're listening to that, you don't entertain what you see out of the corner of your eye. You're just looking back and front, and there's a lot more. Uh, there's a lot more nuance in things than you imagine. So yeah, yeah, that's what I was talking on a principled level. because in AA, in an addict, it's very extreme. It's either I'm loaded or I'm sober. Yeah, so whatever. It's just sort of, it goes on, and then they try to apply that to everything, and everything in life may not be just that, like that. Yes, so you get.
Yeah. And I think, and I spent all morning thinking about this because it really is everything kind of that I feel like I'm dealing with now. To program by virtue of being programmed for addicts. I mean, this is what I'm guessing. In my program, all the talking that is done to each other is talking, and about ourselves is talking as self, like all the time, it seems like. And it's driving me crazy, kind of, and it's not like I'm beyond it. I do it a lot, but I'm just saying.
Well, hold on, Marl, because this may be the start that you're going to be put to a different use later. So maybe you're going to start a meeting of this group and with different ideas, and maybe that will become a branch and a trunk of a new plank in that whole thing. You never know. Yes, what's going on? That's the beauty of it. You don't know how you're going to be put to use. You just have faith in what's putting you to use.
Thank you.
This is what you grow into, I feel. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm just saying what I said, I think, a week ago in one of these meetings. This, for now, these talks are helping me. I'm not going anywhere, but they're helping me be in my program. I mean,
Yes.
helping me is not even, they are allowing me, I think, to be I really appreciate it.
Well, that's the point. This isn't about a path. This is about illuminating whatever path you're on. Yes. 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 See, seeking illumination while at the point that you actually may be the illumination. Yes. Yeah. So it's just like a thing in AA. A lot of times you get to a point where you're not getting much out of the meaning, and then someone will say, well, what are you putting in? Yeah. So, and then you get a refreshing uh reminder of a much broader way of seeing things. Yeah. And humbly you receive that and go, oh yeah, what is it I'm bringing to the meeting? Because I'm thinking I'm going there like shopping at a store. I should get something, but it's actually the role. Maybe I'm supposed to be just going there, and you don't know what. Just sitting in the room is being put to use by a loving power. So yeah, I went to another AA meeting yesterday, and I saw this guy I knew a long time ago, and so he came over last night to the meeting we have at the house. We don't have people mostly, but some people show up, and it was great. It was so great because I knew him in the early days of Zen Bitch Slap. Yeah, so it was awesome, and that was only because I went to the meeting. I went last week and I saw him, and then I saw him again yesterday, and he came. So, and that wouldn't have happened if I didn't go to the meeting. So yeah, this is all, yeah. You can have an idea of AA if you've been in AA for a while. And AA won't punish you for that idea when you go into the meeting. It's great. It's just such a beautiful open door policy. I don't mean the people in it. I mean the program. It's just beautiful. Yeah. It really is. It always is a happy surprise when I one day I went there, and I was probably ready to escape, and someone came and said, "Can you give me a ride to a town?" I said, "Okay." Then I said, Then I said, "What? Let me get you a pair of shoes. Take a pair of shoes. Go to the thrift store." Then I drop him at these like tree-like bushes, and he was living in there somewhere. It was just amazing. I felt, yeah, that I had been put to use. It was a nice afternoon. Yeah, yeah. And I knew it was going to happen. As soon as I go, I'm going to drive someone somewhere, something. Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah. So, and sometimes you think, oh, this is an inconvenience. Yeah, it's an inconvenience. I had a plan. I wanted to be somewhere at 105. Yeah. Ah. It's so funny. It's so funny, man. So yeah, thank you, Marl. Yes, just hmm. You know, a lot of meetings in AA came out of anger. Yeah, people got angry at what was going on at a certain meeting and they started a new one. Yeah, this is a valuable use of anger. Yeah. Yeah. If you're not hearing what you want, start a meeting and start saying what you want to hear. And see what happens and people show up or not. Yeah. All right, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. I think we have Diane in
Yeah,
Calgary.
yeah, Diane, hello.
Can't hear you, Diane.
Diane, can you unmute?
I think we have all of Canada muted. I don't know. Let's see. Give it a go to the country mute or non-mute. Go there. Germany is not on mute. I know that. So, but Canada, I
Sorry,
think I.
Oh, there you
sorry
go.
about that. I'm in my car and on my phone, so I don't know what I'm doing.
Pull
Yeah,
over.
thank you so much. Oh, I'm pulled over. I'm in my driveway.
Oh,
Yeah, thanks for this, Paul. It sets me straight sometimes. You know, you hear in the meetings, stick with the winners, right? Well,
yes.
a guy I know spoke last week, and he goes, "Well, I stick with the losers because we lose interest in selfish things, right?" And it kind of got me set. Like last year, my son decided, you know, his own conscience decided to go back into treatment. You know, he got struck sober, and I helped him, and he had to
Mm,
sit in a room with untreated Al-Anons, right?
mm,
And yeah, and which is fine. I see, right, the stuff, and but then I also was hanging around with a little too many newcomers and too many sponsees, and you know, I wore myself really thin. I injured my back really badly, right, and I couldn't do a whole lot of physical things, and found myself in my head too much, and I felt like I got sucked into this vortex, right, of
mm.
of this self, like, so seriously, I'm still recovering from it. That's fine. I'm coming back to your meetings. So what do you think of that? You know?
Well, I think it's over now, and yeah,
Oh,
yeah. So
I
you
hope
don't
so.
have to breathe any more life into it. Ultimately, it's imagination.
I
Seriously, it's mostly mental imagination that puts us through the ringer a lot. Yeah, there are situations, but they're usually blown out of proportion, and therefore we feel like I'm completely disconnected, but nothing's actually really happened. The head is just bouncing around up there. And there has been a habit of watching it, so we watch it, and but after you've seen it a number of times, you can start recognizing it before it gains that much momentum. Yeah, and then there'll be moments when you really need to be uh, available and clear. Uh, yeah, not these made up stuff all day. So yeah, I know a lot of people who
but
didn't felt bad about themselves, did a lot of service, had 13 sponsees, did all this, and had a breakdown, a psychological breakdown, because they were trying to take care of everyone else and not take care about themselves. And then they weren't addressing the elephant in the room, and so something had to happen, and so they actually drank and had to go into a program. Yeah. So you need a
well,
balance, don't you?
definitely. But I also see like made me work harder on this again, doing like I scoured my whole. I had to scour my past again, right, and see these defects in a different light, like a more meaningful, how deep they are into the subconscious, I guess, is where what I saw, right, all the way back to when I was even before 2 years old, kind of thing, and so it was. I just saw that the top of this pyramid of defects is pride, right? It's pride, like, does it matter, kind of thing. It just a lot of this stuff, like I embarrassed myself a couple times, and it was humiliating, all that kind of stuff. A few things, because there was a love interest and all this. It was crazy, right? And so yeah, I really need meetings right now still, because it really is putting up a fight with the parasite idea.
Well, bring that stuff to step 6 and 7.
Yes,
Yeah, remember it's a comprehensive steps because it says, take all of me, the good and bad. Yeah. And just follow through with that. Take some of the stuff you just said, and bring it to step 6 and 7, and ask that power to reconfigure it. Yeah. Just state
definitely.
that I'm entirely ready for this to be removed or reconfigured, and I ask this power to do it. Yeah, do it exactly like it's stated in the book, the formality of it, and there'll be a lot of feeling because you've been touched by the spirit many, many times, and there's a power in us. And when that power is given, it's a propulsion of seeing something and delivering it to step 6 and 7, so it can be sort of reconfigured or recycled. Yeah. Yeah. The most
Definitely.
faith I have in this life is there was no human being that could get me sober, yet something did. There's no ands or bits about it. This was the fact of my life. No human power, including my own, could get me sober, yet something struck me sober. That's that is the mound of faith in my life that keeps getting reinforced, yeah, all the time. Yes. I mean, you can't dispute it. It was obvious. Nothing could change it. I got run over by cars, that spent 2 years and 3 months in programs, many weekends in jail, hospital, long, long stays in hospitals. My mother loved me, and, you know, people, the state wanted it to stop, everything. Nothing could stop it, yet something stopped it. Yeah. Now that something is the mound of faith I build my life on, really, literally. I do not believe this turns into a self-reliance program. I believe it's reliance on a higher power. And by admitting my powerlessness, I seem to have an access to a lot of power. And I think that's the key. And I don't believe there's just constant acts of surrendering. I think a valid, real recognition of surrender is going to lead to a state of surrendered. I do. Yeah. You'll be in a state of surrendered. You got it. You got the futility of controlling and managing these conditions. You got it. Yeah. You had that surrender, and now you can mimic it and stay surrendered. Yeah. Yeah. So, uh, the head wants to make a lot of shit out of nothing. Just bring that shit to the 6 and 7, and something else will make a lot of stuff out of it, but it won't be what the head does. Yes. So, the gold that it wants to hide, the other thing will find. Yeah. So, the higher power. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Definitely have to keep active, right? In the like, I mean, I was in a car accident last month and then surgery a few weeks ago. So here I was laid up in bed again, right? That
Yes.
mind just, it's yeah. So really important to
Well,
stick with this.
yeah,
Yeah.
or just take, get a subscription to Netflix and watch Bloodline if you're bed. Yeah, watch something that has some good writers and some good actors, and it'll be better than your writer and your acting. You'll get absorbed in
Right.
their little drama instead of your drama. I'm seriously, it worked. I've been on bed a lot in my life, being completely powerless to change anything for months on end. I fell upon Bloodline. It was helpful. I could be
I'll look that up.
someone would come over and we'd talk about Johnny, the guy in the movie, and the show instead of me. It was great. How is Johnny doing? I just saw the episode. It was great. A lot of times you won't see that which is hovering over you every second, thinking, looking if you're healthy or not, is the illness. Yeah. When it's sent around the corner for a half an hour, true recovery can occur, healing can occur, not under its supervision. It's its absence that allows the body to get on with shit. Seriously, most people's illness is psychosomatic. The head just fucking goes off. Yeah. I had it. I was young, my stomach was all fucked up, and I got involved to try to make it better. And all my interest was in my intestine every day. It was just constantly seeing how my digestion system was. It was just an obsession with self. Blew my mind when I learned it. Yeah. When someone tells me and tries to convince me I have something or something has me, I don't give it any name or form. I just say, well, I usually sleep on it. Like if I have a dire situation and then someone tells me, oh, I think it's that, I say, well, I'm going to sleep on it. I'll let you know what I think tomorrow. I do. And most every time at this point, it's got changed. Yeah. Yeah. And usually is I need do nothing is the is the best approach. Yeah. Yeah. The head is a many splendid thing in a lot of ways. It's not to be listened to. Yeah. It can be heard and it's great for comedy. But when you're listening to it as like the Oracle or a GPS, it's it fails on that level. Yeah. All right. Anyone else? What
Thanks,
else? What are
Paul.
you talking about? You're welcome,
Ye-
honey. Come and take sanctuary at the Zoom. Yes. Yeah.
Thank you, Diane. Yes, we have Annette has her hand up. Hi, Annette.
Hey, good to be here, grateful member of recovery. And I love that suggestion of a way to identify here. So thanks for that, Paul, amongst so much.
Hmm.
Uh, I don't know. I'm suspicious when, like you said, it's like listening to the head or not, and then I hesitate. And a lot of times I just hesitate instead of pause. There's a difference. I feel like I'm noticing a difference between taking a pause
Yes.
intentionally or just hesitating out of the dialogue, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, so just, and of course, then there's a whole story like, if you open your mouth, it's going to be blah, 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 blah. So this is like back and forth. So this is why you shouldn't, you know?
Well,
uh,
that's playing God.
say again. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So get me out of the way, which, it's, on the Zoom and I can be, resting on laurels, feeling um not as affected, etc., whatever. But it's so good to listen to others and be reminded of those times out of desperation and failure that yes, there's just no other way than to just get the fuck out of the way and that you're not doing this. This is not working clearly, you know. And how those are, it's even hard to articulate, you know. But I think it's still important to make, put the hand up and, try just to be open to the resonation and that it might be of, some kind of use to another person. All that being said is that, myself, I don't have the alcoholism, drug addiction type background. It's been first Codependency Anonymous, then all this is not just like, oh, I read a book and I think I'll go. No, it was like really rough stuff coming from, and literally meeting a girl at a meditation meeting who was also a massage therapist when I was going to school for massage. Like, so many things, when things line up like that, you just go, and like we went to a carnival, and instead of going to the carnival, all of a sudden we sat down outside after we realized that we both had these boyfriends that were apparently, alcoholic, and we had so much in common, whatever. So she's the one who told me about Codependence Anonymous. We went there. I did that religiously for how long? Of course, with her on Wednesday nights only, codependently, whatever. Like, one thing leads to another. Then it was on to Al-Anon, and super, super hard to find a meeting until I found home finally in a meeting that was a step in tradition meeting, where they did step 1 all January, and last week was all tradition 1. So getting a good grounding and feeling secure in the literature. And the person that was facilitating at that time, I just felt like I could come back here, and it became religiously my home group. And doing the steps there, more in depth, led me to look at my food issues, and that was also coming up like it never had before, on a level where it couldn't not be looked at. Then, long story, I know so I went to OA. That freaked me out as a control freak, because it was like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, I needed to know the formula, because in there, OA, the broad one now, not the original one, the broad one now is that you define your own abstinence, and, and you work it out with your sponsor, etc. But the original one I've found, the Gray Sheeters Anonymous, literally, known as the Nazis of OA, the original. It came with a gray sheet. That was what you can eat or not eat. You will weigh and measure 3 meals a day. You put it on the scale. You commit to your sponsor. You eat nothing else in between. I did that. In fact, in these rooms, I can relate. In these rooms, you could not speak until you raise your hand and you say, "My name is Annette. I'm a recovering addict, food addict. I weigh and measure 3." This whole mantra you have to say before you can talk, because otherwise other people know that you're not abstinent. They really, they don't want to hear you. So a lot of that, but I was attracted to that. Why? Because of the authoritative background I come from. So it was just, I needed to work through, the food was just like a symptom, I learned eventually. Eventually, this is going back a ways, on to one thing to another, DA, whatever, So I did the gray sheet back to back eventually after slipping, sliding. I dedicated it up to almost 6 years. And it was a relationship I got into while I was in nursing school, working full time, doing DA, weighing and measuring. DA, you write down every penny you spend, okay? And then you an envelopes based off that, you meet with, like, it's very also high maintenance. All of this going on, and I went to a sober dance. A friend of mine from Gray Sheeters said on New Year's Eve, and you have to come. You're never doing anything. You just go to meetings. Like, you need to just come. It's a sober dance. What can go wrong? So I go to the sober dance, and I meet an ex, who wound up, he was a recovering crack addict, and whatever. He asked me if I wanted to get a cordial. He meant to say a coffee. He was very nervous. I was very nervous, whatever. And 7 years later, I broke my abstinence in that relationship over an argument where, because I was maintaining a size which is 30 pounds less than now, which, so my greatest size is 25 more than now. So I'm like right in the middle now. And this is how I gauge, I know my abstinence, whatever. So, I bit a cookie at him. I'll say that in an argument, was like to tell, because he knew our first date, I left my scale at home. He had to go back. Oh. I needed that scale. No, I'm not going anywhere without that. He witnessed everything going on. So, that was the, and then of course I went on to, like, I'm just going to say it. I wouldn't say this before when I was working the job that was like, I was trapped. I realized in this like identity as a professional. But yeah, another program was Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous that I needed to go to. And I'm going to tell you what.
Annette,
Yeah.
excuse me. I want you now, when you come to the Zoom, you're going to go
Yes.
into the Chaise Lounge section. Lay down on the Chaise Lounge section. And remember this. Just stay in the Chaise Lounge like an operating table. Don't get up. Don't play doctor. It's all going to work out. Yes? You need to,
Mhm.
you're in the Chaise Lounge section. Michael and Mickey as our director to the Chaise Lounge section when you greet, all right? Remember Annette. She goes horizontal immediately. Yes, yes. Take any pens away from her, any scales or anything. Just come on. All right. We got to end soon in it, but that's something.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yes, if I could breathe relief into you just to chill out. Yes. And I believe humbly, either this work is going to come to a close or it's going to be held more loosely. Just come here. Yes. Because a lot of work gets done without strain or yes, yes. And something will give you a clue when it's time to do something or not do something. And you'll start dancing to another beat. Yes, there's a lot of German techno beat in there. We want to sort of take the bass out and a little bit of treble. Little flowing waltz like thing, not a boom, 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 boom. Yes. And yeah, you're in good hands, Annette. Yes. Yeah. You're in good
Thank
hands.
you.
You can really breathe and not be punished for the next breath. Just chill. Yes. Yeah.
Finally. Yes. Thank you.
Yes,
Mhm.
please, finally. Yes, you can, sometimes the biggest burden we're carrying is ourselves. Let's put ourselves down. Yes. Put the burden of Paul down. Put the burden of Matthew down. Put the burden of Annette down. Yes. And then let something else size Annette up and Matthew and Paul. And maybe what it gives back to us will be a much lighter version of Annette, Matthew, and Paul. Yes. But let's put it down and let something else weigh it, not the scale that's being used, but weigh it and then let it give it back to you. And you may feel a much easier, softer way about you when yeah, give it all over. Yeah, really put it on something. It's going to be returned, and I'm telling you, it'll be infused with a much more light. Yes, yeah, and yeah, yeah. I truly believe this. I do. I believe there's a point of sacrifice and all this and that, but then there's a point where it ends. Yeah. And yeah. I'm in a sense inherently okay this or not this. Yeah. It's just yeah. So let's all give ourselves over. It's going to be brought back. It's going to be given back to you, and then you'll see it's a lot lighter. So something sees you in a much lighter fashion than we see ourselves. Seriously, we're looking through a lens that's very strange. So knowing that, we should hand ourselves over, and maybe we'll get a hit of what something else sees us as, and may be much more refreshing and loving and yeah, much more let's say accepting. Yeah, so if you can't find acceptance here now, give it over to something that can accept you, and it'll give it back, and then you'll be more accepting. Yes, it'll be nice. It's a nice way to travel. But the primary thing is to admit that you're outmatched, and yeah, here, yeah. I mean, the head has you sized up already. Yeah, I want to hear another size. Yes, because the size of my shoes it keeps telling me I have are really tight on my feet. Yeah, but it says no, you're a 10, you're a 10, you're a 10. That's not working. It doesn't feel like it. I need 11. Yeah, something. Give this over, and you'll probably get the. It's all right to get the 11. You have outgrown something. You've grown into an 11, and then you'll start traveling lighter. So, I hope that made sense. It made sense to me. I'm just putting it out there. Okay.
Thank
All right.
you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Annette. Hey, Paul, do you have time for one more? Maggie has her hand up.
Yeah, sure. I guess
Hi,
so.
Maggie.
Hey. Hi, Paul. Hi,
I
everybody.
just had time for one more at the bar. So what the hell? I should
Right,
probably do
right.
the same thing. Hey, do you have time for one more hit? Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, always.
Okay, don't you have to get home? Oh, fuck her.
You
Yeah,
ever
give me
home?
one more go. All right. I have time for one more.
Yeah, you've talked about verbs, verbing, selfing. And when you were speaking towards the end with Diane, I wrote down instead of being in a constant state of surrendering, be in a state of surrender.
Third,
Which,
yeah.
yep. And I just had to say that again. And I think I got that right. And it came filtering down. And then the next share, I would pray, you know, we can just be in a constant state of surrendering. That's how, when I first got sober, I let go. And then later in sobriety, I practiced letting go. And then I realized I was verbing, you know, I was like, and then I came back to it and I come and go from that state. But today there was a little more clarity for me about, you know, being, instead of being in a constant state of surrender, be surrender, be in a state
Yes.
of. So I just want to say that. Thanks.
Yes. Yeah. The battle is over. Who cares who won or lost? You surrender. All right. Thank you. All right, everyone. Michael, as always, thank you so much. Peter, Arizona, nice to see you. Marl, yes. Just make sure you take the basic refuge, Marl, and then the other stuff is going to work itself out. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Joseph C., our man in France. Nice to see you, Joseph. Nikki in Toronto. Yeah. Matthew, UK. Nice to see you, Matthew. Miak. It's Miak's birthday tomorrow. Woo-hoo-hoo. We'll have to sing her a song on Saturday. Oh, we can do it right now. Happy birthday
Birthday
to
to
you.
you.
Happy
Happy
Birthday
birthday
to
to
you.
Happy
you.
birthday,
Happy
dear
birthday, dear Mia.
Happy
Ah,
birthday.
happy
Happy
birthday
birthday
to
to
hip
Speech,
you.
hooray.
speech.
Keep
Yeah.
coming back.
My birthday as well tomorrow.
Whose birthday?
Mine, Peter.
Oh, Peter. Happy
Hey,
birthday
To
to
you.
happy
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 birthday,
birthday
dear
birthday to
Peter.
you.
Happy birthday,
Happy
Peter.
birthday to
Dear
you.
Peter,
Peter.
Hip hip hooray.
Happy
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 birthday.
birthday to
Hopefully
you.
there's no more.
I don't know.
It's my
A day or
There is,
less, not like this
Vad's
month. Or
birthday. Vad has got a birthday.
who?
Yeah.
Vad.
Glad.
Yeah.
Happy
Birthday
birthday to
birthday
to
to
you.
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 Happy
Happy
Birthday
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 to
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 you.
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 Daddy-o,
Happy
daddy-o.
Happy
birthday, dear
birthday,
Daddy-o,
dear
Vlad.
Vlad.
Daddy.
Oh,
Happy
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 birthday
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 to
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 you. Must be
you.
like,
hip
yeah.
hip hooray.
Wieners.
Anyone else?
Wow.
Oh, thank God. Thank God.
The wieners.
I have to put my happy birthday through a filter so it sounds like Frank Sinatra or something. It's terrible. All right. Nice to see you, Vlad and Richard. Very nice. I sent you that stuff, Richard. Hari. Make sure he,
Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah.
I just forget it all the time. All
Yeah.
right. Teresa. Nice to see you.
Thank
Gabe.
you, Paul. Thank you, Paul, so much.
Gabe is on it. He's walking. Something's going on. He's on the move. We got Stephanie. Nice to see you, Stephanie. She was looking up. That was nice. Stephen, New Jersey. Oh, Stephen, nice to see you, man. I hope everything's going somewhat okay. Yes, I'm gonna just take it as a yes.
Not
Annette.
bad. Thank you. Not bad. Better.
Oh, good. Very good. Thank you. I'm gonna be in Dover in a couple of weeks. I know in the end of April.
I'm gonna come see you. I'll be there.
Great, great. We'll be there a few nights. So Annette, Saraswati, nice to see Saraswati, Tacoma, Tom. Yep. I don't know. I can't get to the other page. Hey, thank you so much. I saw what's his name from Minnesota came in. Kaiser. Kaiser made a guest appearance. Yes. All right, everyone. Thank you. See
Good
everybody.
to see you,
Thank you, Paul.
Kaiser.
Thanks, Paul.